A little bit lighter. This isn't gonna work. Guys, it's 80 degrees today, but tomorrow night it's gonna be only 30 degrees. So I gotta work fast because that means all these big tortoises behind me have to come inside for the winter. So what I'm doing is I'm using this banana to try to lure Mickey over here to the end of the enclosure, and then I'm gonna lift her up, plop her down on the lawn, and then continue to try to lure her in, because the indoor building is on the other side of the property, and Mickey weighs a lot. Even though she's still growing, she's still a very heavy tortoise, and it's also stressful on her for me to try to just carry her the whole time. So hopefully she cooperates. Atta girl. There's a little reward for making it over here. This isn't gonna work. She's completely distracted by the other food items on the ground, and then I gotta think outside the box. Stubborn giant tortoise means time to use a vehicle to transport it. Next up are Dixie and Morby, our sulcata tortoises. A little bit lighter. Man, not that much lighter. So I've got the vast majority of the tortoises that need to come in inside here right now. This is essentially the unfinished side of our building that we house reptiles in. And the reason this is unfinished is because tortoises and other reptiles don't care about the way things look. They don't care about nice things on the wall, painted walls, decor. What they need is visual barriers in whatever form that's going to be, heat, light, food, and of course water. And that's what they're going to be getting in here. Now there's a lot more prep to do before I can put this thing to bed. We have to line the floor with hay. They have different areas of soil where the females, if they need to lay eggs, can do so. But also I want to point out that we have a gravel floor in here for two reasons. One, gravel and sand are an important part to any tortoise's natural environment, and there's actually a really great article that I'm going to put a link in the description of from the Tortoise Trust about sand and gravel. And also it works wonderfully for a drainage layer. And here in South Jersey with a more mild winter, this is perfect for what we're trying to accomplish. All right, everybody's inside, but I've got tortoises literally running around all over the place. But the first thing I want to do to start getting them settled is to create a shelter within a shelter. Sure, we're inside our reptile building, so these animals are protected from the elements and the cold, but they have to feel secure. No tortoise wants to be exposed 24/7. So what I'm going to do is use one of the old pens on the floor of this building that some of these very tortoises used to fit in when they were much smaller and turn it into a shelter that they can walk in and out of. So here we go. Excuse me, Morby. This is for a dog. Here you go. So you don't want it either. All right, coming together nicely. So before I cap this thing off, close it in, and then go in there to hang in lights, I'm going to open up this bale of hay so I can create a nice bed for them. Insulation is very important, and like I said earlier, we want to have both dirt, gravel, and hay areas for these animals so that they have different areas to explore. They can dig in certain spots. The gravel is perfect for the drainage, and of course the uneven terrain and different examples of substrate allow the tortoises to exercise, which is something we really want them to do during the winter because it's a lot easier to do that outdoors in a massive pen. So exercise is especially important for giant tortoises because they can become lazy. If they're used to having things handed to them and they don't have to work for their food, they become severely atrophied, and that can lead to an early death. Remember, these animals are supposed to live well over 100 years. So it's up to us, as their caretakers, to allow them every opportunity to exercise. All right, before I put this into place, what I'm gonna do is take these sturdy hooks and I'm gonna screw them into the underside of this top plank, because this is where I'm going to hang the lighting. I'm going to use some 250 watt brooder lights, which are excellent heat sources, trying to keep these animals warm during the winter. And they thermoregulate. When they get too warm, they'll leave this hide and go out into the open. And when they feel like they want to warm up again, they can come back in here. Now this barn is still going to be fairly warm for several months until it gets like frigid outside. And at that point, I'm going to start installing other lights around here so that if they leave this, they don't cool down too much in a corner and get stuck there and get too chilly. So, you know, kind of a little bit of a game as things go on, but hey, that's what we signed up for. Our hide box is nice and complete. What I actually did was I separated the planks on the top a little bit, maybe like 3/4 of an inch or only half an inch, to create some slots for extra ventilation, because it is going to get really nice and warm in there pretty quickly once those lights are turned on. So now what I got to do is I'm going to recess some of these bird baths or partial bird baths into the gravel so that the tortoises have various stations to drink and even soak a little bit, because of course water is crucial for proper health. And tortoises don't just get their water from food, folks. They absolutely need to be able to drink and even soak. I'm feeling pretty good about this, even though it's kind of a sad thing because we've got another winter on the way. But before we know it, it'll be over and the tortoises will be going right back outside. That's the wonderful thing about southern coastal New Jersey, is it's not a terribly long winter. But I got a lot more to do here. I'm gonna be spreading more hay. I'm gonna be creating some uneven areas for them, getting their lights hooked up. And also what I'm really looking forward to is making some feeding stations, because the big tortoises shouldn't always eat off the ground. They need to reach for their food. And you don't want the big tortoises, again, to suffer any kind of atrophy, so making them work for it, it's what they're supposed to do. They're not always eating off the ground in the wild. They're reaching up into low-lying bushes or even small trees to try to pull down those delicious leaves or flowers. So, mimic nature. Use nature as a model. It's the best thing you can do. And even when you have just a simple, basic room like this, you can still make it fun and entertaining and enriching for the animals, because they come first. So in here so far, we've got Rocky and Blue, our rhinoceros iguanas, Jack and Sally, our little Galapagos tortoises, Mickey, the Aldabra tortoise, Dixie and Morby, our sulcata tortoises, our whole little band of radiated tortoises, and in some of the smaller tortoise bays that are up high and stuff, that's where we have some of the obscure, sensitive Greek tortoise subspecies, like the Libyans and the Tunisians, to name a few. So, it's a good sized room. It gets us through the winter. It's not our finished side. You guys always see us filming on that side where you see all the big, beautiful toad ranch enclosures and stuff, but it's functional. Our animals are safe. They're well fed. They're hydrated. They're warm. Before we know it, we're gonna go right back outside. So let me get back to work here. I still have to bring in all the redfoot tortoises too. And you know what I'd like to know? How do you guys get through the winter with your big animals? What do? Do you have something like this? Do you do something else? Share it with all of us, because we are all always learning.